Hey, welcome back to Diabolic Shrimp, the least professional talk show on the internet. I'm your host, best-selling author and comic creator Josh Grant, and today our special guest is Glenn Gibson. I'm thrilled to have Glenn on here. Glenn is he is a professional when it comes to presenting. He has presented for all sorts of things, all sorts of tech kind of things. He's combined his love of technology and presentation. He has written. He's the author of Before the Mic. It is a wonderful guide. I've read it about helping you kind of up your presentation game. It's super easy to read. I've reviewed it before, so definitely check it out. If you want to learn more about Glenn and check out his stuff, his website and his books are down there in the description. In fact, we're going to get to see a little bit of that because at one point he had professional jugglers juggle his book. They were on like America's Got Talent, and they juggled his book, and we're gonna watch a little clip of that. Hopefully, if it works for us, and so stay tuned for that. Definitely check it out. We're a show. If you happen to stumble upon Diabolic Shrimp by accident, then we are a wonderful support community. We love to support authors. I get to interview interesting people from around the world, and Glenn Gibson is definitely one of those interesting people. So feel free over there in the live chat. I'm always pointing the wrong direction. Over there in the somewhere in the live chat, go ahead and throw your questions out there to Glenn. I'll definitely shout you out. We already have Alistair Gibson, all the way from Scotland, I hear. Looking forward to it. Dad Gibson, coming to support your son. That is so great. I love that. And so just a bit about Glenn before we bring him on. Glenn was born and raised in South Queensferry, Scotland, where he frequented the very pub, the Hawes Inn, that legendary Scottish author Robert Louis Stevenson reportedly penned the literary classics Kidnapped and Treasure Island centuries before Glenn and his first pint there. Spending many an evening in this establishment with his friends and family inspired his dream of becoming an author, and Before the Mic is the realization of his lifelong ambition. Glenn now lives in Avon, Ohio, with his wife, Rachel, boys, Finlay and Oren, and their West Highland Terrier, Fergus. Glenn has combined his love of speaking and technology throughout his 20-year career in various roles, achieving technology certifications from Microsoft, Citrix, and VMware, and delivering technical support, teaching on-base software installations, and running product marketing and technology evangelism teams. Glenn is definitely giving me a run for my money in pronouncing some of these. Besides public speaking and the music mentioned in this book, Glenn's passions include all things Scottish. Glenn is a proud kilt wearer. In fact, he brought his kilt today. I'm excited about that. Whiskey sampler, bagpipe appreciator, meat pie eater, Scottish football masochist. Definitely. I don't think they're doing so well this season. Maybe, I don't know. I like to talk people's teams, and loves a chippy with the famous Edinburgh salt and sauce. Glenn is also a keen student of the Bible and enjoys volunteering his time to help others find purpose in life. Like a salmon swimming back upstream, Glenn returns to Scotland whenever he has the chance to visit friends and family, explore the Highlands, and do a little fishing with his dad. One day, he plans to walk the West Highland Way with his boys, but that's a dream for another day. Well, he's been sitting in the wings for a bit, and he is definitely the professional at presenting more so than I am. And so let's go ahead and bring him on. Glenn, welcome to Diabolic Shrimp.
Hi, Josh. Hi, everybody. It's wonderful to be here.
Oh, it's such a blast to have you. I was really enjoying getting to go to your site and watch some of your previous presentations, and so it's just such a blast. And we already have several people already, lots from Scotland actually. It's so exciting.
Yes.
Jason Lang, greetings from the outer. How do you pronounce that?
The Outer Hebrides. And Jason, you heard me
Hebrides.
talking about my lifelong dream of doing some salmon fishing, so I'm hoping you can help me out there. I think.
Yeah, so I think you're the very first person I think that came on here and said that they're a meat pie enthusiast. So I'm kind of well, it's just so great to have you on here, Glenn. I always think a great way to introduce people is through show and tell. Did you bring us anything for show and tell?
I did. This is a bit big. You might not be able to see me at the same time. But this is a framed poster of my favorite Scottish band, as you can see, called Runrig.
Runrig, okay.
A band that sing in English and Scottish Gaelic. So
Wow.
they finally retired in 2018 after a long, like 43-year career. And their final show was at Stirling Castle in Edinburgh, just outside of Edinburgh, like about 20 miles away from Edinburgh. And myself, my wife, and my kids went over for that. So this is my framed ticket. I have my little camping bracelet over here. The blue thing there is one of the pieces of confetti which came down at the end of what was an extremely emotional night to see this band that has been a lifelong love of mine and 50,000 other people that were there over that weekend saying goodbye to them. So a big fan of that band. And the tie into my book is that the bass player and the lead songwriter from the band, a fella called Rory MacDonald, who is from the Outer Hebrides in Scotland, he wrote a little endorsement quote for the back of my book,
Cool.
which was just an absolute lifetime honor. So that's my show and tell.
That is just too cool. I was like, I need to all these days I always just like end up listening to like soundtracks, movie soundtracks. So I'll have to write to all these soundtrack people and get them to write something for the back of my book. I just think that's just too much fun. What a great family trip. Glenn's gonna juggle that later as well with his book. And it's so well, Glenn, I was like, we're gonna get to we're gonna dive all into Before the Mic and talk all about presentation, because you've definitely had some wonderful tips, and it's just a really easy to read book. But I want to dive a little bit more into just your life first, and we, especially our audience, we have a wonderful group from Scotland already watching, and so I love Scottish culture, and you're well traveled. I'm actually a bit of a homebody. I'll be going to Scotland soon, actually.
Nice.
So what must I absolutely try or see, and what must I absolutely avoid?
Good question. So you have to go, if you go to Edinburgh, you have to get a chippy, which is
a chippy, like chippy. Fish and chips, or
it's fish and chips, and the takeaway, wrap it in paper and have the famous Edinburgh salt and sauce. It's a brown sauce. It's not HP. It's quite unique to Edinburgh, and it is, I would call it liquid manna. It is delicious.
It's absolutely. salt and sauce, though.
Salt and sauce slathered over your fish and chips.
It sounds like Vegemite. Is it like
no. It is like, oh my goodness, it's so nice.
Well, I'll be honest. Yeah, I never got a chance to get all the way up to Scotland last time I was across the pond there. I'm in the United States, and I was over in London, but and the fish and chips no one does it better. So I'm excited to try it, and a chippy with the salt and sauce.
Salt and sauce, that's great. And then there's lots of deep fried stuff, but meat pies are also just the business over there. You can get them everywhere. Absolutely wonderful. But somewhere to go, if you need to go somewhere, my favorite place in the whole of Scotland is Glencoe, which is right in the heart of the Highlands up in Scotland. So that is a wonderful place to kind of gravitate to, drive up through. The scenery is just magnificent up there.
Oh man, well I'm excited to check it out, and I just love your enthusiasm. It's infectious. But what do I have to avoid while I'm in Scotland? Like what's the food that's just like, or the just not what should I not do?
Well, I have a really hard time saying what to avoid, because there's everything about Scotland is just absolutely wonderful in my opinion.
Glenn owns stock in Scotland. I think
I would say though, like you cannot count on the weather. So if you're just going to go, you just have to go and just see what happens. We've been there in July, and it's rained the entire time in the 50s. We've been there in late September, and it's been glorious. So try to avoid the rain, but that's almost an impossible
I was like up in Scotland. I'll get that one patch that has no rain and has a chippy and some salt and sauce, and it'll be heaven.
One of the things to look up specifically is the midgie, the infamous Scottish midgie. It is a biting gnat, which if you go to the wrong place at the wrong time of year up in the Highlands, you will get eaten alive by these tiny little biting midges. So those don't generally show up in the tourist brochures. You just have to go in there. But there's a midgie season. So look up Midgie season and just try to avoid the hot
I like
spots.
how that's the distant second to the rain. It's like, oh, you might get rained on, or you might get eaten alive by small creatures. Okay, I got it. Okay,
Yeah.
Midgie. Well, and Alistair is letting me know avoid the heart attack food, a Mars bar supper. Huh? Okay.
Deep fried Mars bar is what he's talking about here.
Glenn's telling you that you got to listen to your dad, okay? And
Yes.
so, or he's telling you that, Glenn. And so, Alistair, it's great to have you. And again, our live audience, if you're just tuning in, I know some of you are. This is Glenn Gibson, professional presenter, great guy. Definitely, we love being interactive. So throw out your questions there in the live chat, and we'll pull you up here. We'll bombard them. We'll put them in the hot seat. So Glenn, like, you blend technology and presentation both into your work. What inspired your love of technology, and how did that eventually merge with like presenting?
Yeah, so I think it was just all about the idea of the impact that technology can make. My first job was on an IT help desk, and technology is super confusing for people. The calls we would get on the help desk is ordinary, very smart, everyday people that skill sets are elsewhere, sometimes just struggle and fumble so much with technology.
Glenn's describing me. I was messing with our technology on this show, like right before we were getting on.
Yeah. So over the years, and from starting from a help desk, then moving into kind of training roles, I developed this love of helping people kind of demystify how challenging it is and help them be able to feel confident with what they're doing. So over the years of doing that, and I've been fortunate enough to be able to combine both kind of technology and somewhat training with all my roles. And I think that really gets galvanized when there's an opportunity to present, because there's so many business presentations that we all either deliver or listen to. And so many of them are dry and informational, just like, oh, they're so boring sometimes, but they don't have to be.
Again, Glenn's describing this show. No, just hey, let me put up my 50 bullet point slide real quick, Glenn, and, about the things you're talking about. No.
Exactly. So taking a topic like, even just some seemingly boring technology, and then it's almost like a challenge that I embrace as to how do you take this big pile of information that people are trying to learn and then make it inspiring and help them really get set up for success, understand why they should learn it, why and how to use it, that type of thing. So all those things kind of together, I just love that moment where you're teaching or presenting and you see that light bulb go on in someone's eye and they have this aha moment. That's where satisfaction is for me.
Yeah, I definitely I connect with you on that. I used to be an actor, and I left the stage to become a teacher, and it is definitely a big part of my heart to see that aha light bulb, and especially with like you said, technology. There's a lot of like great people that are so skilled in everything, and sometimes that technology gap is a challenge. And so thank you for helping people in that. And I just I love to see how you've like combined technology into all your presentations. Again, if you're just tuning in, check out Glenn's works down below. He wrote Before the Mic. It helps you with presenting. There we go. Yeah, definitely hold it up. We're all about that same. I told him he had to. So this is my fault.
Contractual obligations, right?
And so, but he also. Glenn, you always just do a wonderful job of like combining technology and finding that good balance, right? Because it's like presenting is kind of like a team effort between you and the technology, and it's like so it's a lot of talking, but it's also like showing stuff and kind of back and forth. It's almost like you're talking to another person, and so what has been like one of the biggest challenges or blunders you had to kind of navigate for during like a presentation? I mean, for me, I used to be an actor. I used to be a live stage actor, and I was in the play The Crucible. The Crucible was a wonderful play, and it's all about the Salem witch trials. It's actually a tragedy. It's really deep, and it turned out to be the funniest play I've ever been in, because it's like we had everything that could have went wrong. We had people bringing in a set earlier. So we're like, oh, here comes a house. It must be the witches or something, it's like, and we had stuff fall over. And so it's like, sometimes things just don't go according to plan in life, and you just have to improvise a bit. So what has been one of the biggest challenges or blunders you had to kind of work through?
So many, and it's my goal in life to help people not feel afraid of presentations, but I think the fact that things can go horribly wrong sometimes, and why some get extremely nervous when they're going to go up and present. So some of my own personal horror stories have been, walking on stage and then the microphone just not working for an uncomfortable amount of time. And then, your big, exciting impact intro just gets absolutely demolished. That's one thing. I've had the projector. Now, this is like an interesting kind of whole philosophy anyway, but the projector just die halfway
Oh,
through
no.
a presentation. Now, that is where, as a lifelong presenter, you are, tested. This happened to me in front of our entire company at the time, about 3,500 people on a morning meeting, and the slide projector just completely died. You have a choice. Do you keep going?
Just run. Just run. It's like being
run.
the kid at Dairy Queen, when the ice cream machine goes out and you're just like, I'm out. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. But the whole point of coming back to this book is this idea about preparing so well and really galvanizing in your own mind what you're trying to convey before you get up and present, that even when the slides, if they were to just completely fail you, that you still are able to talk through your key ideas, your main points, because you have learned them and kind of identified them yourself. And then you've rehearsed them and practiced them. So whenever I walk on a stage, it is my goal to minimize every opportunity for disaster on there. And really, it all comes down to being extremely well prepared. That's the only way about it.
True. And again, I connect with you when I was reading your book originally a little while back, and I reviewed it. It's like I definitely connected with a lot of those points that you talked about, because it's like from acting world. Mine was stage acting, so it's all live. It's like a live presentation, and same kind of thing. It's like you did everything you could to memorize your lines, so you're super confident in that, and memorize the information, and you knew all the parts of the play and what was coming, and so when things went wrong, you did your very best to get everything back on track, even when it's like I had a friend who got thrown over something and broke his rib, and on stage, and that man he actually powered on through. He was supposed to be a dead body, so he couldn't even say anything, so he just laid there with a broken rib, and so that is a dedication to the craft. So
sir, I have never broken a limb yet while being presenting. So
yeah, career goals, right? I'm not sure how that would work while you're presenting. I'm not, maybe during the next juggling segment or something.
Yeah,
or next time you have a band playing, you can, I don't know, raise your arms or something. And so you've had all sorts of awesome opportunities to present for a variety of like different audiences, and open up for again, I mentioned like professional juggling groups and musicians, and you've got to present to like thousands of people at a time, which is impressive. You beat my goal. My goal was 500 at one time. And so what has been some of your personal favorite like presentations that you've had an opportunity to present at or with?
Well, this answer is going to sound super cheesy. I absolutely, look at my t-shirt I have here. I absolutely love the opportunity to present. And I take every opportunity super seriously, even if it's just like I'm going to do a team update to another department at the company or whatever. I take that moment super seriously. But some of the highlights where it's been like super, you come off stage and it's like super tingly, have been where in front of giant audiences at big conferences. So I had the opportunity to present in front of America's Got Talent finalists, The Passing Zone, who are two amazingly hilarious, talented people, as you mentioned. We're going to
and we're gonna watch that in just a second too.
Yeah, we're going to see that.
If you're watching, stay tuned, because they're going to juggle Glenn's book with fire as well. So
yeah, amazing. So I presented ahead of them. I also had the opportunity to present ahead of John Ondrosik from Five for Fighting fame, the very talented musician who wrote hits like Superman, etc. So I did a nice introduction to him, a big 10-minute presentation ahead of him. And then he came onto the stage and regaled the Software Conference with some of his brilliant, inspiring tunes and life stories too. So those were two definite standout highlights that I've been able to have. Another one was location-based. So there's a clip of this actually on our website. The software company I work for had the big user event in a theater in Cleveland that is legendary, and the Beatles played on that stage. Jimi Hendrix was played on that stage. There's just some, and Elvis Presley played on that stage too. And then we had the largest video screen that stage had ever seen behind us at the conference, and it was such a thrill to go in a venue like that.
Yeah.
So
did you feel the history of that?
Oh,
I mean,
totally
I kind of
did.
sometimes
Oh,
you can
goodness.
sometimes you can actually feel a stage, you know, when you're on it. So
It was just oozing with presence in that venue. It was just amazing. So it was such a thrill.
That I was like, and I just love it. And here, let's get up here. Sorry, speaking of technical difficulties, I was having a few just now, and so let's get this clip up, and you and I can kind of talk about it. And I'm just curious your feelings, because again, you're such a passionate person when it comes to is it working? Yes, it is working.
Here
I'm
we go.
excited. And so it's just Glenn's power is oozing through the system here. It's allowing us to work out our technology. Now the sound is cut off. I'm sorry to our audience. But check this out. It's so cool to see, like like I think this might be the coolest way I've ever seen a book presented before. So professional jugglers right here, they've got fire. Anytime I see someone like carrying fire like this next to my book, I'm a little bit concerned usually. So, but let's see what they end up doing with it. And so, can you hear this by any chance?
No, we cannot. I can't hear on my end. That's okay.
Yeah, if I get distracted, I can definitely hear all of it. So here they are, Glenn. Like, what was like? Did you know that they were going to do this?
So they gave me an endorsement quote for my book too. So they've got said some very nice things on the back of the page. And I just said to them, you know, have you ever, you know, is there a world record for juggling books? And they replied back saying, well, that's not the most exciting world record we could ever pursue. But they did. They sent me a video of them juggling this book. So I think this video is the current world unofficial world record for most before the mic books juggled in a video. That's what I think.
That's just so impressive. And what a great thing to claim. I love it. I just think that's just so creative, and good on them. For someone, I was learning juggling when I was younger, and I definitely, sorry, I'll get off the share screen here. Sorry. And so I was learning juggling, and just to see them do those, that's called passing, right? And it's like you do passes for between each other, and doing it with like clubs, and that's what a book would be considered as a club, is so tricky. And with a book, it's so weirdly weighted. So such a cool thing that they got to do, and such a cool thing to see your book get juggled with fire. I think that's so impressive. And so Andrea Hintz is throwing you a question here. Andrea Hintz, wonderful author, wonderful support of other people. Andrea Hintz Productions. Who was your favorite person you ever presented in front of? And so we actually, Andrea, I think just got a chance to tune in. We actually just went over that, and Glenn was talking about all of his presentations, but also like some of the different places he's been.
Well,
so
if this counts as a presentation, maybe my new answer is Andrea Hintz.
Well,
does this count?
So yeah, this does. You're required to say that while you're on the show anyway. And so Glenn, like just one more question before we you Andrea, apologize. I'm sorry, Andrea. I called you out there. Andrea, you're late. Andrea used to be a teacher as well. You're late to the class here. No, just checking. Andrea's it's always so wonderful to have Andrea here. Andrea's a wonderful support of other people, and
I love it.
And actors and actresses as well. And so one last question, Glenn, and then let's really dive into Before the Mic, because I really want to show off a little bit of this book, because for someone like me that's like kind of a nervous personality, if you can't tell, I was a very shy person growing up, in theater, and acting was something I weirdly got thrown into, and it helped me get out of my bubble, and so I loved some of your tips that you had in your books. I really want to highlight those. But before we get there, just one last question, like what is it that you feel when you get out there on that stage in front of a bunch of people, and they're all looking at you, and in that moment when you just get out there and you're about to present, what is it that you're feeling?
Presenting terrifies me still, in a really kind of in a really good way, because that is these butterflies that are there is just a natural emotion. I think if anyone
butterflies, not Scottish, what were they called? Midges or whatever that like eat you alive or whatever. It's
yeah,
so,
no midges in the
these are
stomach.
nice
That would
butterflies.
be, I think the presentation would have to be canceled. Definitely, I get terrified. I like to say some people for a thrill and for adrenaline, some people jump out of airplanes or swim with sharks. I get on stages. That I feel it is such a nerve-wracking thrill every single time. But the way I counter that is I walk every stage I walk on, or every microphone I pick up when I'm asked to deliver a formal presentation. I am absolutely very, very well prepared, and that's why I call my book Before the Mic, because sometimes we have a long time to prepare for a presentation, and sometimes we don't. Sometimes we have to throw something together and present to a team in like 2 hours time. Well, over the years, I have kind of built into my kind of tool bag and arsenal of tricks a bunch of kind of like rules to myself, or hacks or tricks that I can apply even in a hurry, that helps me understand when I go speak, I know I'm going to have a few key ideas. I'm going to have a great introduction. I'm going to end strong. I kind of have this framework that I just start plugging information into, and I can use it. I benefit from it. So I realized over time that, man, this is so helpful to me. And I thought, I really want to share this with the world, because it shouldn't be a secret. Great public speaking should be democratized. And that is my goal with this book.
I love it. And again, always connecting with you, Glenn, on this. I mean, we both kind of come from presenting backgrounds in a way. It's like that was me for I was in Lost in Yonkers, and Lost in Yonkers, like it's a great play, but it's like and we were doing theater of the round, so you actually had people up on the stage, and they're like a couple feet away from you, and they're in every direction. And so it's kind of like you have this natural thing like to want to turn away from your audience and dodge them, and you have to stop yourself and focus on your audience, right? It's like, but it was weird. It was kind of like being in a movie, like don't look at the camera. It's like, don't look at the audience members, like prolonged eye contact, because it's like they're all around you. And I had to start that play, and every single night I would panic right before, like the lights would come up and there's like people all around you, and you're just like, don't look at them. And I had to be the one that started the play. I was the line that started, and I would forget my line every time, and I would have that panic moment. But it's kind of like you were talking about the tools in your tool bag. I was just like, okay, I would need to do this, and then I need to pause for a second, and then my line would come back to me. And the second you hit it, it's kind of like that preparation. It's just like, go with it. And so I'm definitely connecting with you. So what did you I don't want to stigmatize like public speaking. I know a lot of people are challenged by it, but once you get to it, and like you said, practice and things, you can really get into it. Like did you ever have a moment though where it's like we had to work through in theater what we called a dead audience, when you're supposed to be funny and the audience is enjoying it, but they're like entirely silent, and you're waiting for that laugh, and then you don't get it, and it kind of hits you. What did you ever have an experience like that, and how did you kind of work through that?
All all the time. And what's interesting, I've delivered the same presentation to the same kind of audiences, but to, different groups of people. And the first audience, like the same kind of, the same kind of people, same kind of profile, and the presentation was delivered and created for this group. The first group loved it. And I felt like I was like the world's funniest person. Every line landed. People were responding. Brilliant. The same presentation to another group, just deadpan. And then you feel like you're working so hard, and, you need to go for a lie down once you get off, because you just feel so drained. And I've come to realize over the years, every audience, and I'm sure you know this too, as a performer, every audience has its own kind of collective personality. So you cannot, one of my big tips to people when they talk about humor, you have to be prepared for your every joke if you're going to choose to try to be funny, for every joke to just land like a lead balloon, and you just have to keep going, because the worst
you're describing like my teaching middle schoolers. I got to teach middle schoolers, and you just throw your jokes out there and you just know no one's gonna laugh.
Yeah, exactly. And then you just have to keep going. The worst are where you kind of pause, waiting for this big reaction that doesn't come, and it just makes everyone uncomfortable.
That was like the first 30 of this show as well. And so but all right, so here let's let me share a little bit Before the Mic, a great book. Again, we've given some of these nightmare scenarios on accident. It's like, so Glenn, your book is fantastic. It's really easy to read. Again, like it's like presenting, but on paper is kind of how I feel. It's like you have this wonderful presentation written down on paper. And so let me share just the first few lines from your book, and then let's talk all about it.
Okay.
So it says, how do you feel when you're standing before the mic and about to begin speaking in front of a room full of people? Which of the following best describes you? Nervous, excited, terrified, energized, sweaty, all of the above? Perhaps you don't present very often, and the idea of public speaking fills you with dread. Or on the other end of the spectrum, maybe you present all the time and you feel totally comfortable commanding the attention of a room or a video conferencing session. What if you learned that how you feel about presenting is irrelevant as to whether you can be effective at it or not? And so I love it's kind of like a statement that kind of blows you away, because often that's all we're thinking about when you hear I had to present. When you were the kid in class and it's like the teacher's like, we're doing a presentation, you're instantly like, how do I feel? Or like as an adult, right? It's like it's like you're in a business and we all had to like present at some point. And so how do you feel? And I love that it's like how you feel about it is irrelevant as to whether you can be an effective or not. So what do you mean about how you feel is irrelevant? I'm really intrigued.
So even the most confident person who can stroll in a room, work the crowd, be kind of entertaining, can often have as much chance of being totally ineffective with what they have delivered as someone who is very nervous and, a different disposition has of getting in front of a room and delivering something profound or something super inspirational that causes people to want to do something different. The reason why that is true, and I believe this with my heart and soul, is as a presenter, we're not just performing the material. First of all, we're the composer of the material. And I use an analogy likening presentation writing to songwriting in my book. Anyone can get up and be amazing at karaoke or terrible at karaoke. But what they both have in common is neither.
You've never seen me do karaoke, Glenn. I think I'm in that terrible category.
All right, cool. And in the world of karaoke, the worse you are, the better the applause is. That doesn't happen in presentation. But the point is, the skill set of writing a song that other people want to hear is a totally different skill set than the ability to perform material well or badly that someone else wrote. So it gets into this idea about, as a presenter, laying this foundation of this skill set of knowing how to write quality material first. That is the foundation on which all other presentation skills must be based, because once we've got quality content, then we can think about nice looking slides. Then we can think about delivering with like a sense of confidence and passion. But honestly, most people start about the confidence, or they start on the slide design, but all of that needs quality content under the covers. And that's why I call my book Before the Mic, because it's really focused on that writing process.
Yeah, well, and that's why I found intriguing about it, because often when we're talking presentation, and I've read plenty of stuff on like how to be a better actor back when I was acting, and how to present and things, and what I thought was really cool and really unique about yours was again, you just mentioned it really well. It's like it's kind of that pre-process, and so to help people out in Before the Mic, and again, if you're just tuning in with us, this is Glenn Gibson, professional presenter. We just watched Juggling with Fire. He's gonna juggle his book right now. No, and so Oh, there we go. He's impressive. And I wasn't expecting that. And so he just a wonderful guy. Again, like check out his book down in the description before the mic if you're just joining us. Feel free to ask him a question in the live chat there. But Glenn, in your book, you talk about like the 3 M's in
Yes.
it. And tell us a bit about that and kind of where did those kind of 3 categories come from? Like how did you land on those?
Yes, I call this the amazing, spelled with 3 M's, horrible spelling, but the amazing presentation structure. So these 3 M's to me are the hallmark of any captivating presentation. And the 3 M's are meaningful, memorable, and motivational. If we can make, and we can make any information meaningful, memorable, and motivational. I even like to challenge people who maybe deliver, financial presentations. It's full of charts and numbers and all this type of stuff. We can even turn that information because we can identify why we're sharing the information, why it's meaningful to the audience. What are the key points from all of this data that someone is supposed to remember? And then what are they supposed to do with the information at the other end of it? Now,
at least that's more structured than what I typically do is like financials. I just take a little money cannon, just shoot money into the crowd, and then we just call it a day.
Yeah, just like dollars for everybody.
Yeah, that's only if only if the projector goes down.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because I present to some people and I talk about make your presentations these 3 M's, and I say them again. And people say, well, that just sounds fluffy. I'm in there. I'm in sales. I'm trying to close the deal. I'm, delivering to the board. I'm talking to industry analysts. Like this is too fluffy for me. So then this is how I challenge people's thinking. What is the opposite of those 3 words? Because the opposite of meaningful is meaningless. The opposite of memorable is forgettable. And then the opposite of meaningful, memorable, and motivational is kind of uninspiring, perhaps, right? So
Glenn, stop describing this show. This is the 3rd time. No.
That's hilarious. But yeah, so I say to people, how many presentations have we all sat through and delivered? And I know I'm guilty of this myself, that ultimately the information was, meaningless, forgettable, and kind of very uninspiring. And it was just a big bunch of slides. You kind of walk away and your life is no different for listening to it. So these are the hallmarks.
And again, Andrea being so kind, writing this down for work. Yes, Josh, the money cannon. I hope you're writing the money cannon down for work. If you got nothing else from this show, all this, I was like, Glenn just gives you all this wonderful inspirational stuff. And then if you get nothing else, just get the money cannon. And
sometimes the best ideas are the most spontaneous ones, Josh.
Yeah, that's true. I was just I loved like how you break things down, like and again, like Glenn, I loved your guide of like you really do give those like specifics. Again, like the person saying, that sounds like fluff. You didn't just say be motivational. You really break it down, and you break it down in a fun way in your books, in your book, excuse me. And so and you often find all these other great ways to connect with people. And so you often like mix music with your writing and presentations. Yeah. Like why is that?
Well, I love music for a start, and love all sorts of genres of music. But because this analogy is about writing, likening writing presentations to writing songs, there are so many lessons that we can learn from the world of songwriting. So that's why I keep kind of relating back to, and I mentioned a lot of songs. By the way, there's a Spotify playlist that goes along with this book.
That's what I was saying. Like on your website, you have all these great like playlists too that go with all your kind of presentations.
All the songs mentioned in the book are in a playlist, which I think is a good listen. And it's funny because I didn't create it with that intention, but after aggregating all the songs mentioned, I realized, of course, I was mentioning a bunch of songs that I like to hear myself, which is kind of cool. But this idea about composing something of value, relating it. So one perfect example is lyrics in songs are super deliberate. Whereas so many presenters kind of get up, put some slides up, and just start kind of almost like freestyle ska kind of approach to speaking. But these nice, composed, deliberate words that can be a little poetic, can use great word pictures and analogies. There's so much goodness to draw from concepts like that. And that's just one example.
Yeah, well, and so what do you like? A lot of this is a lot of your experience, and you can tell, yeah, you have a lot of great experience. So, like, what do you do, like personally? You kind of talked about being prepared and all this, and it's like, what do you do personally to warm up for a presentation? Or do you like watch like the old Matt Foley SNL skit or something? Like, I'm a motivational speaker.
It depends how close I am to the presentation. So right before, I like to listen to some pumping music. I do like a little bit of a U2, so I might put a U2 song on blasting or something.
Yes.
Like that. But really, this is my biggest tip to everyone. If you were to not have the time to read the book, here is something everybody could do that if every presenter did in the whole world, it would improve the game for both the presenter and the audience. And it's this. Are you ready to hear this top tip?
I am ready to hear. In fact, I'm going to hear you say it in like the same way that U2 sings. Okay, so not just joking. No, go ahead. So
I'm trying to see if I can pull that up.
I'm not going to make you. If I make you, I have to do it too, and we don't need that on the show again.
I was going to be like with or without you, but then that wasn't where it was going. Speaking out loud, not at the point of rehearsals, but speaking out loud while writing the presentation is a wonderful magic trick to composing the words that you want to say, because so many times words that look good on paper, when we start to say them out loud, they're clunky, the order's weird, they sound funny, and then oftentimes these ideas spontaneously come to mind. So that's another lesson from songwriters, because songwriters will pick up a guitar and they'll play ideas, and then they keep the stuff that sounds good, ditch the stuff that sounds terrible. We should do that as presenters.
I'm definitely, I'm again connecting with you. Even as a writer, we have a lot of writers that watch this show as well. And like, even as a writer these days, I find myself writing, and people are always like, "Are you okay?" Because I'm over there mouthing stuff, like like staring off into space and like just talking to myself. It's usually the bad guy too. And and so it's like I used to do that as an actor. I wouldn't practice in front of anybody because it was just weird to me. But like I would be like in the shower, and I'm just like saying I'm like screaming lines in the shower, and someone's like knocking on the door, like everything all right in there, It's like, so what about you? Like, do you ever like did you ever like, or do you ever practice in front of a mirror or in front of your family, or is it just like, or is that just too weird?
No, I actually tell people this too, because some people say I'm not doing that. It feels weird to stand and talk to an empty room or to empty chairs. And this is what I say back to them: if you can't get over your own self-consciousness talking to an empty room, how on earth are we going to ever get comfortable talking to a room when it's full of people? So you just have to get talking, get comfortable, get comfortable with the sound of your own voice, understand how your whole kind of brain works when you lose your place. Like, what do you need to do? All those things are just, you can only do it by speaking out loud. And yes,
I was gonna say, I always say like yell at plants. Like that's what I used to do. I had plants, and I would just yell at my plants, and I would do all this weird stuff. You do all this weird stuff in theater anyway, so it's like you stretch out your face. It's like really bizarre. So we have Duncan McDonald.
Ah, Duncan.
Hello from Glasgow, enjoying your wisdom. So so Duncan, it's great to have you. I'm loving that we have such a great crowd from across the pond. I mean, it's gotta be late over there.
Very heartwarming. It's late over there. Yes.
Yeah. So thanks for spending your evening with us. And so Glenn, what would you say is kind of like and again, a lot of this is all like in your book. So again, if you're watching this and you really want to dive into some of Glenn's knowledge and wisdom there, check out Before the Mic. The link is down there in the description. But what would you say is the biggest presentation don't, or like PowerPoint don't?
Yeah, wordy slides. That is one of the biggest challenges of all. And part of the problem is that the PowerPoint templates that people are given are kind of a Mad Libs approach to presentation design, because there's all these boxes waiting for words and bullet points to be put in. So the way I approach and the whole principle of this book, if I was to sum up the writing methodology in this book, it's literally just this: words first, visuals last. That's it. So the PowerPoint, I have to use it. Oftentimes we have to use it. That is the last thing I will create. And by the time I'm making the slides, I am liberated and set free from this dark black hole that we get sucked into of having to type all the words in the slides, because I'm creating visuals to match the ideas I've already figured out I want to say. And that alone is just such a game changer, because it puts those slides in its proper context. And then we go all the way back to, that's why the projector dies. I'm okay, because I still know what I'm saying. I just don't have the visual reinforcements.
Yeah, and I again, I'm gonna just keep connecting you with this entire show, because again, it connects back to theater, but it also connects to writing. Interestingly enough, when it comes to writing, and it's kind of the same thing. I'm these days I'm a best-selling comic creator, and
Nice.
but even comics with the visual and everything, it's all about this visual presentation, but it actually goes all the way back to the writing first,
Yeah.
and the heart of that. It's all about that dialogue. Same with acting. I always tell people that want advice for acting. I used to act, it's like, it was what I love about theater, doing like stage acting versus movie acting. Movie, you can do all this like intricate stuff with your face, but when you're on the stage, and I'm sure you've experienced this a bit too, it's a little bit more like grand gestures, but it's all about voice, and it's all about tone. And tone is the rudder that changes the entire ship, and it's just it's really cool. So you're again, Alistair Gibson. Don't do what your father does. I think he's talking to the entire audience. Glenn, what is your dad doing that we should?
I can heartily attest to that. That's a lesson I've lived my life by, which has led to great things.
Glenn's in trouble with the family now. Next Thanksgiving will be awkward. And Richie Muir, I'm ready. Richie, we're glad you're ready to present, I suppose. And so well, cool. And so what is one of the biggest things that you would want someone who reads your book to walk away with?
I want people to feel confident in the material that they've written when they approach the mic. And if people can get there, if they can approach the microphone knowing that they have done all the steps necessary to put together something quality that is going to deliver value, even if it's just a little brief update to another team, that's where the focus should be. And when the focus is on the content, again, it liberates ourselves to have a little bit of extra breathing room. And again, means that our own natural disposition of extra confidence or super nervousness kind of fades into the background a little bit, because we're really focused on the content that we've made. So that would be my goal for everybody, is to be able to apply these principles, make them their own, and know that we're able to build this muscle as a presentation writer prior to focusing on being a presentation performer.
Well, it's so cool to be able to like actually craft like the actual like message, and because that really does connect you with it. As a writer, I know every part of like of everything in there, and I think maybe that's a great bit of advice too, is like writing things down. As an actor, there was a lot of different skills you can get to like memorize lines, because you don't actually write the lines typically as an actor. And so sometimes just writing down the line for starters would help you kind of memorize, like if you would just rewrite the play, it would help you memorize it. But there's a lot of different things. And so this jumps into actually Duncan's question here. Duncan, any advice for conquering stage fright or a feeling of being overwhelmed? So Glenn, you've already talked about kind of being prepared. Preparation is a big thing. We talked a little bit about, like talking to chairs, yelling at plants is what I always called it. Like yell at some plants. So how about that feeling of being overwhelmed?
Yeah.
What would you say is a great way to kind of get around some of that? Or what would you also say, like if for people that don't have the opportunity to actually like prepare their own presentation, they just have to deliver the presentation, what would you say is like maybe something that they could possibly do?
Yeah. So this is, I think this is a real thing Duncan's touching on right here too, because fear of public speaking is a legitimate on the list of people's like top 10 concerns. And there was a famous quip from Jerry Seinfeld, I think, once, that said, on the list, number one is number one is public speaking, number two is death. So people would prefer to be giving in the casket than delivering the speech at a funeral, which is there. But I think it's a real thing, and oftentimes people in the workplace are shoved on stage with little preparation, training, advice, and they're just expected to somehow get over these real human emotions of just being super overwhelmed. I've seen people physically throw up because they've been so overwhelmed by
I felt physically nauseous before being on the stage, and yeah, it's a lot of training that kind of gets you over that, but it's like where I think we're talking a lot. I mean, everyone has kind of a bit of a stigma, like you said. It's like a fear of death is even below fear of public speaking. But I also want to highlight the awesome thing of conquering some of this. So when you're feeling overwhelmed and you conquer it, kind of like what you were saying earlier too, Glenn, it's like, it's this amazing feeling when you actually deliver it. And so tell us just a little bit about that, and we'll get to Andrea's question.
I think first of all, recognizing, and this is a direct answer to Duncan's question, recognizing that your feelings are perfectly normal is fine. And then there's another piece of advice that I had been given. It's not about removing the butterflies. It's about having the butterflies fly in formation. That was a piece of advice. So I like that too, because you realize that is an unnatural feeling. Breathing exercises are a wonderful thing to do if we're kind of feeling overwhelmed. And at this point, we're now getting into the territory of kind of stress management and what we need to do kind of personally. Listening to music, going for a walk, good breathing exercises, all those things are excellent things to do if we are feeling that like it's our feelings are going less from being excited into like terrified.
I always also say, like, have a wonderful failure is what I call it. It's like get out there and try it, and if things mess up, the audience will be entertained one way or another. I was like, and that's the show. That's why I call it the least professional talk show on the internet. And so here, Andrea, we'll get your question here. Oh yeah, by the way, another great way of getting past that feeling of overwhelmed is just you're never in a really rough presentation until you're holding an apple and you have to cut it with a real knife while delivering lines and all that. Because I had to do that in a play, and that was by far the hardest thing I think I've ever had to do in life. I had like a sharp knife, and I'm like having to cut an apple while doing all this talking and acting. I was like, I think that I still have nightmares to this day about that apple. And so
trying to not pick things up too while you're on stage. I picked up. I did a
pen over here.
A glass of water, and it was, I got a little shower. I had to put it down, and that was only like about a month ago. I was very, very nervous in that.
Yeah, I get the shakes, and weirdly, here's another great thing if you're ever trying to prep for a presentation. They used to teach us this in theater, and it's the weirdest thing ever. You squeeze all of your muscles in your face, and it actually squeezes the adrenaline out of your muscles, so you actually get rid of those shakes. Because I had that knife, and I'm like trying to cut an apple. I'm like, don't die while delivering your lines. We don't want this to be a real tragedy. Okay, so Ross Gibson, are your t-shirts for sale?
Not yet, but I am working on an online store where if you are interested, please drop me a note on my website and I can hook you up. But right now they are, so they will be coming soon.
Nice. I was like, I'm gonna start throwing. This shirt is for sale. People can buy it, $500. So, all right. So Andrea here it says, I would be interested in tips for delivering a presentation that is a little bit more unfortunate, how to lighten the message a little, yet maintain the appropriate tone. So how to deliver the bad news. Andrea went on to say, I've had to give those types of presentations at work and struggle with them. So how to give the tough presentation. I'm fascinated. So this has become Glenn's masterclass. Glenn, tell us a bit, how do you deliver a presentation that isn't like you tend to have like presentations where it's like the hype and you try to get people excited about maybe drier matter.
Yeah.
What about like the tough things?
That's an excellent question. I've delivered a lot of these too. And by the way, I've applied the techniques for that I get into to deliver a funeral. Also, I was asked to deliver a funeral service.
Don't juggle at a funeral.
I know, exactly. Yeah, and there's not much more of a somber occasion than there. But here would be my tip for that, Andrea, is to there's three essential questions that have to be answered before I will even agree to a presentation. And they're these. And they're so simple, but they're profound. Who am I talking to? What do they care about? And what is it that we want them to do as a result of this information? So when we can tune into that, even in unfortunate, difficult, maybe we're sharing bad news, maybe it's, some challenge at work, tuning into what they care about ultimately, and then understanding what are the actionable next steps. That's the best that we can do, because the best presentations, as I like to say, if someone asks me what makes a great presentation, empathy is one, and authenticity as well. And so if we can strive to do that, it can help. But yeah, that is certainly a tough scenario, but it really goes down to really thinking about the audience and what they need.
Definitely. And Duncan says thank you as well. And so and honestly, Glenn, thank you. I'm learning so much. And again, I'm connecting with you. Authenticity and empathy actually are pillars of Diabolic Shrimp. I don't share all that out, but they really are a pillar of our community. And we're running short on time. I'm sad we're not actually going to get a chance to read more out of Before the Mic. But again, our audience, check it out. Audience had great questions. So check out Glenn's book is very easy to read. So it's a great way to look into it and get a deeper knowledge of presentation. But Glenn, we are a community that's all about empathy. We're a community of actual support. So I'm curious from you, for our audience, again, the links for Glenn's website and his book is in the description below. But Glenn, how else can we support you?
Yeah, thank you for asking, and thank you so much for having me on this show. I've had an absolute
I've had a blast
from the moment that we first started kind of corresponding. All those it feels like well over a year ago now. It was is awesome. So I would say if you buy the book, I would be honored for sure. And check out my website as well. www.beforethemic. You can get in contact with me. I love delivering training for people and helping consult on presentations and all that. It's what I do. It's my life's work and passion. So that's wonderful. And as you well know, Josh, the power of a positive review, if one feels so inclined, that definitely helps to keep the momentum going, which is always just such an honor.
Well, definitely, and even for people that aren't looking at presenting, this is something I think I mentioned in my review for Before the Mic. It's even if you're not looking at presenting or doing theater or anything like that, it's a lot of these apply to things like messaging and stuff. If you're a writer, we have a lot of young writers that or new writers that like to come on to this show and check things out. So it's a great it's great about delivering messages, and I think we all as human beings can improve through better communication. And so well, Alistair, all the way from Scotland, again, great research. Joshua, I did a little bit. I talked to Glenn for like 5 minutes before. No, and then thanks, Glenn, for a great night, Dad. So Alistair's Glenn's dad there. And Andrea Hintz said, Andrea Hintz says, great Diabolic Shrimp masterclass. Richie Muir, fantastic advice. Great interview. Wow, I'm feeling the love tonight, everyone. Thank you in the live chat, talking about empathy here. What a wonderful community. And so, well, Glenn, thank you so much. We're just about out of time, so thank you so much for being on Diabolic Shrimp.
Thank you so much, Josh. This has been awesome, and all the best to all of your listeners and those in your community. Thank you.
Yes, well, I'm going to send you back down below to the nether realm there and just hang out for a second. And so, well, that was Glenn Gibson again. His book, Before the Mic, down in the description. A website. You can go check out some of his other presentations. It's really fun to watch him present, especially after giving all these wonderful tips. You can actually see them in action on his website. So definitely go check that out. Connect with him. A wonderful guy. Thank you all. I know many of you are out there in Scotland. Thank you for spending your evening with us here on Diabolic Shrimp. It's been such a blast to have you. If you're new to the channel, definitely you can support us by hitting that subscribe button down below. And you can check out any of my books down there. You could buy my shirt for $500 apparently. And so it's wonderful to have you here on Diabolic Shrimp. Thanks for joining us. This has been another Diabolic Shrimp. Have a good night.